afterwards, but there was also 5 folks who sent me messages yesterday saying they weren't able to attend, but they'd like to see the recording. So we are now recording. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to share a screen with various different models and approaches and things, just to frame up this sort of purposeful perspective, which is a view of life that I think if everybody took, the world would be a lot better place, and we also would have a lot more performance and well-being and impact in our work. So as I share screen here, I'll just run through a few of the bits and bobs. Let me know, just give me a thumbs up when you can see that. Awesome. Okay, cool. So today's focused on providing everybody with an overview of what I mean by purposeful perspective, why purposeful perspective is important, and how that can benefit us in our work and our lives. And essentially, there's 5 things that will be kind of running through together, which would be things that I'd like you to all to get out of it. So understanding the why behind the why, like why is a purposeful perspective important, and understanding the value that can bring. We're going to talk a little bit about process and where that sits within a what I call 3 E's and 6 P's. It's a 3-phased 6-step process that we take people through. So today is literally the first little bit, a frame up of the whole thing, but then the first little bit we're going to toe dip in for the second half of this session and give you some practical things to consider for yourself. So reflecting on those things, and then have a little bit of a Q&A. I'd love to capture some feedback for folks at the end. The invite list for this was people I just sort of handpicked from my LinkedIn network, and again, it's kind of a good mix of people that I know that are new to connecting with me or Purpose Fused. A couple of folks that have been through programming before, and even Nell is joining, which is awesome. Welcome, Nell. So these are the things we can expect, but I'm not going to be kind of diving through a bunch of detailed slides. What I want to do instead is just kind of have the slides help frame up a few of these things. So what even would we want to think about in terms of a purposeful perspective? First of all, we kind of want to think about what purpose means to us. And one approach here, and Nell's shared this before, Nell's one of my partners here at Purpose Fused, and this is another pretty awesome and relevant quote for today, I think, for folks that are really seeking to create the freedom that you want and deserve in your life. It just starts with focusing on what makes you come alive. And now we all have the opportunity to really go ahead and do that, because ultimately that's the most important thing in life. And there's a few other things I'm going to tee up that explain why purposeful perspective is important as part of this sort of first half of running through some background before we dive into the practical stuff. The first one, if you want to live a longer, better quality life, then having a strong sense of purpose and a purposeful perspective for your whole life is a pretty powerful tactic. As you can see here at the top, the folks with a higher purpose live longer, but it's not just about living longer. It's about meaning. It's about motivation. It's about being able to control our emotional triggers, which we're able to do better when we have a strong sense of purpose. Managing stresses, positive stresses and negative stresses. It increases our vitality, sort of our physical and mental vigor, and strengthens our resilience. So in addition to enabling us to overcome challenges on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, it enables us over time to build up that sort of resilience and vitality that enables us to go on and live a really meaningful and productive life. And it also is a really, really powerful thing for intentionality of connection and belonging, looking at meaningful experiences and meaningful relationships with two huge pieces of happiness. So that's a pretty good case. And then there's also kind of The work case. There's three views here of how purpose can support folks at work. On the left is about productivity. And the concepts of flow, which is this sort of time when we're just in the zone, we're acting as an extension of ourselves, things are intrinsically rewarding, we're balancing our challenging skills, we just kind of lose track of time because we're so focused on what we're doing. We can be 500% more productive in those windows. And while we can't do that 24/7, being intentional about finding flow enables us to find more flow. So it's super powerful in work, super powerful outside of work. There's an old-ish study now from 2015, which I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with. Looking to the right-hand side there are the blue bars. Yes, we want people to be engaged, but if they can be inspired, they're 2.25 times more productive. So in terms of really enabling us to engage people, align their contributions to where their natural energy sits, so allow them to contribute to things that they care about, that they're excited about, that inspire them, that excite them, that's a powerful, powerful way to increase output on a team in a sustainable way. And then on the right-hand side, we can look at retention. This is pretty relevant and pretty recent. January 2024, Great Places to Work. And I was just at that conference back in May and connected with a couple of folks that are here through that as well. And these are the three biggest drivers of retention: purpose, pride, and fun. And you'll see how all three of those kind of merge together from having a purposeful perspective. And then just one kind of output from our own work, which is another powerful part of this business case. This one's really for the CFOs, but one of the most tangible outputs from the program, outside of all the positive outcomes that people experience, is repurposing of hours. So they look at their calendar differently. They just see it completely differently to how they saw it before. And on average, people look to repurpose 6.5 hours a week. And what's important about those 6.5 hours, because yes, there's only 24 hours in a day and no one's worked out the magic formula for increasing that. It comes down to intentionality of our energy, the meaningful engagement and being energized and excited and enthusiastic and contributing positively in those hours. So they're taking off 6.5 of their worst hours, at best negative contributions, at best neutral contributions, but usually kind of negative, energy sucking kind of stuff. Just those sort of meetings where you have to sit in there for an hour and listen. So taking off some of those things, but replacing them with best self contributions. Now, if you've got a business with 250 people, 6.5 hours a week, 75,000 hours a year, if on average everyone's getting paid 100 grand a year, that's $3.75 million. It's basically getting flushed down the toilet every year. It's a big expense. So we can convert that into positive contribution, into hours that really move the needle for that individual, for the team, for the organization. So there's a huge benefit to that. But when we're looking at purposeful perspective, obviously first we'll unpack purpose. Some of you will have seen this model so I've got my screen here, so I'll be looking to the side a little bit every now and again. But the three circles and the intersection of the three circles. And so purpose in our definition is simply this intentional approach to living at the intersection between our passions and our impact. And to live at the intersection between our passions and impact, we have to be intentional about how we're spending our time and energy, who we're spending it with, what we're contributing towards, and focusing on the things that have meaning to us. And we can do that through answering those three questions. What am I doing when I'm at my very best? How do I most authentically and uniquely kind of demonstrate that and bring it to life? And what meaningful difference does that make on people I surround myself with, on the world? So we're going to look at a little bit deeper into those three areas. But those three areas essentially to make up a purpose statement, which would be the beginning of having a purposeful perspective. And when we're looking at the purposeful perspective, then the purposeful perspective is taking this like completely holistic, whole self, whole life view of what you see in life, not just your calendar at work, your whole self, whole life, that enables you to really increase your intentionality around the things that matter most. Now, we each have different seasons of time, that go up and down. And in each season of time, there'll be different areas of our life that probably are more important to us that we want to focus more time and energy on. And having a purposeful perspective will just enable you to see how all those pieces fit together and how you can align your energy and your focus on the areas that are going to move the needle most for you at that particular point in time. And one thing I'm going to ask everyone to put a kind of a work hat on here, and share a couple of things in the chat, because I'm a big believer in possibilities versus pain points. So I certainly would be somebody that has a possibility mindset. And we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at how, by focusing with a sort of broader and deeper approach, getting into sort of human development needs, fundamental truths, like things that sit 2 or 3 clicks down from what we usually see in front of us, which are pain points. And if we're seeing in front of us pain points, we're usually solving for pain points through tactical solutions, when actually we could have prevented those pain points from existing by taking a deeper and broader approach, which would be the more purposeful perspective. So what I'd love for folks to do, just using your experience from work, share in the chat what you would see some of the primary people pain points that you've observed or seen, whether it's at your current company or a past experience, the primary pain points that you observe that prevent people from performing at their best. What would be some examples of things that folks see or have seen, whether it's for a senior leader, whether it's for managers, whether it's for the people they're managing? What are some examples? Ego, yeah, fear of failure, nice. Lack of resources, yeah. I think that takes me back to the non-profit time when we were all juggling 3 jobs. Criticism, yeah, so having some negativity, self-doubt, maybe not believing in yourself. Yeah, distraction, culture of busyness. Yeah, busyness can create more busyness. Busyness is not productivity. Yeah, bad habits. Others, there's a few elements there that could be positive or negative, obviously. Okay, so these are some examples. These are some examples from some pain points. So I appreciate you guys sharing those. What we've seen from the few hundred folks we've taken through this sort of Live and Lead with Purpose program, this entire program that starts with having a purposeful perspective, from all of the feedback, all the testimonials, all of the surveys that we've done, it boils down to 4 things that folks are looking to achieve and ultimately go on to experience. And this is every level. And so it's really interesting. Only the 4th one is the one that shows up primarily with more senior leaders, but all 3 of these other elements in one way, shape or form show up pretty much with over 80% of the people that we've worked with. The first one is that they're looking for more energy and engagement on a day-to-day basis. They just kind of want to wake up feeling energized and excited and then experience their day in a really engaged way. So they're contributing, they're committed, they're productive. They really feel like they're really engaged and enjoying what they're doing. The second thing is people, and everyone says balance. To be fair, I don't think anyone says harmony. I replace the word balance with harmony, because people are looking for work-life balance, but balance implies compromise, right? So work's up here, life's down here, work's up here, life's down here. That's compromise sucks. So let's not go for compromise. Let's seek to find some harmony in these. And so a purposeful perspective enables us to see things differently and to think about all the different areas of our life and the ones that are most relevant to us right now, and just say, well, okay, how do I apply more of my best self, my authentic best self, to this area? And what difference do I want to make in this area? And every day and every week and every month, if I can just do a little bit more of that, these things just look different. They don't conflict anymore. We're just looking at them in terms of how we are controlling ourselves, how intentional we're being with how we show up. And that's how we just then start to feel this harmony and sense of contentment and peace, because at the end of the day, we're doing enough. We're doing our best. And that's what we can do. The third thing is looking forward. People really want to have, we summarize it as a purposeful future. but they want some clarity and direction. They want to see something off in the distance that's meaningful for them, that they really want to go after, they'd be proud to achieve. They want to understand what that pathway could look like in their work setting. And then that enables them to focus on the things that matter most on a day-to-day basis. It increases their resilience, it increases their level of engagement to have the conversations they need to shape that path in the way they want. So really having a purposeful future is a huge element that ties back to the retention data from Great Places to Work. And then for the folks, it tends to be more for the senior 1 or 2 levels of folks that we've worked with. And for the most part, most of them would be kind of entering their last third of their career, that they feel a sense of responsibility. As a senior leader, we have a sense of responsibility. We have a sense of responsibility to show up as our own purposeful self and to engage other people in finding their purpose and their best selves and aligning their contributions to the areas where they can make the biggest impact. That's good for them. It's good for you. It's good for the business. And this responsibility goes beyond that too. I now I know what enabled me to be successful, but I want to see more significance. I want to experience more significance in my work and life. And what for this last third of my career, what does success look like for me now that really has meaning? And that usually comes down to impacting other people, leaving something behind us that we'd be really proud of, that's in a better place than we found it. And really taking that responsibility that you feel for your role and translating that into meaningful impact for the people that you have the opportunity to influence. So possibilities are what we're focused on. And how we do that is through looking at these things on the left. So if we're leaving some of those pain points on the right-hand side in the rearview mirror, the way we do that is focusing on these, what I call these 5 fundamental truths. And purpose helps build all of these things. It's a foundational element that enables us to experience more connection and belonging. Going through these sorts of processes, having these sorts of conversations, truly tapping into elements of each person's best self and understanding what that is for each other and supporting other people enables us not just to fit in, but to belong and to truly connect with people. It obviously gives us meaning. Meaning is kind of the sense making, right? If impact is something that makes a difference in the world and it's meaningful to us, then that is aligned to our purpose, which is the reason that we would want to contribute to that. Everyone wants to contribute. People are human, right? We want to contribute, we want to make a difference for the most part. We want to add value to the business, and we want to have enough space and enough challenge, the autonomy and growth to enable us to continue to contribute and get better and have value, and every now and again make mistakes and learn from those and improve. And ultimately, we're working really hard to do this. We want some recognition for it. And I would say, if you look at any of the pain points that you put in the chat, and any of the pain points that we've seen kind of over here on the right-hand side, you could take any of those and attribute one or more of these fundamental truths as being missing as a reason why that thing exists. Now, in an organization, obviously, there's a strategy, there's other systemic factors that drive a culture, literally systems and technology. There's obviously leadership training. There's so many elements that intersect between the people, the processes, the technology, the strategy, the business, and they're all interconnected. But by having a purposeful perspective, you can focus on the fundamentals that enable people to perform better, not on a day-to-day basis, or not just on a day-to-day basis, but over the long term. So that's all a little bit of a frame up to why a purposeful perspective is important. And what I wanted to do now is I'm going to frame up a bit of a quick process that we're going to go through, and then we're actually going to take up a little bit of time practically having a go at some activities. And at that point, I'll turn off the slides, and we'll bring everyone up, and we'll all have a go at doing some of these things and sharing some of the outcomes that we experience as we go through it. So starting with perspective, I talked about 6 E's and 3 E's and 6 P's. The process of taking somebody from I'm not really sure. I might say I've got a sense of purpose, but actually I'm not super confident about how I would articulate that. To going from that process to having a very clear sense of purpose, a very clear sense of what I want to do with that on a day-to-day basis, and then a commitment to actually embedding that in our life. So explore, evaluate, and embed are the three phases of a process that we would take people through. And the parts that are highlighted there just reflect the little toe dip we're doing into phase one, which is where this perspective element kicks us off. What we view, what we see is the first thing. And that's part of purpose discovery. That's part of self-awareness. It's part of really diving in and looking at some of our best self experiences, some challenges we've overcome, what people would say about us, really unpacking some of the roles we've played and what we were doing when we were at our very best and what impact that had on people. So really lots of self-reflection, self-awareness to understand what our purpose actually is and discovering our purpose, from which then we can create a plan, from which then we can evaluate that plan by projecting forward some of the possibilities that we see if we're able to live a life in that way to our current reality, and what are the commitments that build us from today to this ideal kind of plan of our best selves and the possibilities that we're seeking. And then identifying the tangible actions and behaviors we want to commit to for the next 90 days and the people that can support us in putting those behaviors into place. And that's kind of the three phases of the process we go through. But again, we're focused today just on the kickoff, just on the perspective element, the very beginning piece of the process. And so purposeful perspective would be this whole self, whole life view that really considers this intersection between our passions and our impact and the very practical application on a day-to-day basis of what we want to do with it. And there's three steps. And this would be three things, I think, from our, if you like, coaching experience and our coaching approach that differentiate us against a number of other coaching approaches. And that would be that first, it's deeper, broader, further, right? So taking a much deeper view into really understanding what your passions are. Now, what's important is definitions. Never in the program, never in a coaching engagement, never in a training do we just say, hey, what are your passions? And just ask people what their passions are. Our definition of passion is the things that we care about, the things that we believe in, the things that we may be really good at, that we maybe enjoy, and that energize us. So there's 5 elements to our passions. And we take people through a number of different exercises, and we're going to dive into one in a minute where you can pick a question and have a go at it. Diving into each of those areas from 2 or 3 different angles to really come up with the things that we're passionate about. And then taking this broader view of, well, what is impact? I can count on less than one hand from hundreds of people, the amount of people that have, off the top of their head, being able to articulate the impact that we want to have in the world. Now, Nell, who's on the call, is one of those for you. And we're in this space, right? So Nell and I are very comfortable articulating the impact we want to have on a me, we, and a world level. So we're going to take a look at that as well. And the way we get there is looking at this whole self, whole life model. And then once we've got kind of the intersections between those things, these are the things where we really feel aligned to our purpose. We're able to come up with a purpose statement that reflects that. My purpose statement is to create opportunities that inspire people to go forward as the ultimate version of themselves. So a purpose statement's 15 words or less that just sort of explains our best self on a page. But what we really need with that is that just, if that's the essence of our best, if that's our why, we need to create a plan. So purposeful perspective ultimately looks like this. It will be a completed version of this plan. And I'm not going to go into details on what this is, but other than framing it, which is if the purpose is foundational and at the bottom, purpose can't live in a vacuum. So as amazing as it is to have a purpose statement and want to shout it off the rooftops and share it with folks, it's not super valuable unless we actually start intentionally building a plan around it. So where do we want to go at the top? Like the aspiration for the world we'd love to see. I'd love to see a world that's full of people that are connected with vitality and purpose. Our impact statements we just talked about, me, we, and world. A destination of what we want our life to look like in 5 years' time, like a kind of an affirmation statement for our whole life. 3 life ambitions. We allow folks to even go up to 4, but 3 life ambitions. These are the 3 areas we want to be most intentional with our time and energy about on a day-to-day basis. So that's what we're trying to achieve to get to our where. And as importantly, how are we going to get there? The principles, up to 7 principles, best self behaviors. This is me at my best on a page. 7 behaviors that I commit to on a daily basis that I know that represent me at my best. And 3 areas of focus. These are front of mind. And if I keep these front of mind every day, I'm going to be on track. My 3 are inspire, connect, advance. So if I can inspire somebody every day, connect them to resource, to a know-how, to a person, to a program, to an opportunity, and help them take a step forward, give them a hug, give them a nudge, gentle kick, provide them something that enables them to take a step forward, inspire, connect, advance. It's been a great day. So purposeful perspective is having a framework that enables us to see things differently and see how things connect together. So, right, cool. So that's all the background. That's the summary of the approach. What we're going to do now is give you all a little bit of work to do. So I am going to tee up some questions here that I will put into the chat. Take the slide down. And what you're going to do, step 1 is this deeper approach, right? We're going to start unpacking our passions. You're welcome to copy all these questions and take them away. But in the interest of time, for now, pick 1 question out of these 7 and just take a minute to answer that question. And then we'll either share some of these in the chat, or we'll share some of them live. Welcome, Janice.
Hi, how are you?
You just came in at the right time, because I'm just making you guys now do all the work. So I've put 7 questions in the chat. The idea is to answer 1. You're welcome to copy all of them and take them away for homework. But pick a question out of the 7 and just scribble down your answer for that. And then once you've got your answers, of course, I'll have some follow-up questions. Now, what I'd love to do, because we've got a reasonably small group, is have a conversation around these. So anyone that's in a position to turn on the cameras and that's comfortable sharing some of these things, or just being there to listen and support other folks, that would be awesome. But if you'd rather just put your answers in the chat, again, just whatever you're comfortable sharing, then we'll do that now. These follow-up questions may come through twice because it didn't seem to go through first time I clicked. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so Rish kindly shared there. So one of the he picked, his question was, what sucks the life out of him? Having a lack of vision or direction. And that's comes back to that purposeful future, the impact we want to have, being clear about the impact we want to have, being clear about the vision of the world we'd love to see, being clear about what type of life we'd like to be living in 5 years, and having some actual tangible ambitions to go after over the next 3 years that define our intentionality of our time and energy. Now, I'd say if I had to describe that young man, Rish, in 1 word, it would be intentional. Another word would be passion. And so for him and for me and for folks like us, we really need that. So there's some follow-up answers here. So once you've answered your first question, what does that area represent to you? What did that question represent to you, and why did you pick it? And then what insights does that currently raise for you against your current perspective and perceptions in terms of how you see things? So just have a think of that. And if anyone else is in a position to share anything in the chat, great. Steve, I can see working hard, typing away. Steve, have you got, what was your question? What did you pick?
What's up, Mark? I've never used it.
Oh yeah, I like we got the tweeting birds in the background and the bright blue sun.
Oh, it's
Or
not a
not the
bad
sun, but the sky?
place. Yeah, I'm down in
Awesome.
Florida for the paddle this weekend, so I'm pretty stoked on life right now. I chose number two though. What do I fundamentally believe in? This is actually a recent realization, so I'm processing it. But fundamentally, I was journaling last week, and I realized that I'm very curious. I'm a very curious person, and I look for connection in every spot of my life. So I believe fundamentally, like curiosity breeds connection, connection breeds community, and community is necessary for survival. Kind of curiosity to connection to community is a fundamental belief for me, and I think it's universally true. I think if I go in with that type of mindset into almost anything, I'm going to come out of it with a positive experience.
Love it. And how would you say that explains the question why you picked it, and kind of the insights into that process that it creates, right? So from curiosity to connection to community, how would you kind of say that reflects your current perspective, or is that something like you said you were journaling last week, and it's sort of almost like a new perspective or a new focus or commitment for you? Is that something that's been around for a while, or is it a new perspective?
Yeah, it's definitely been around for a while. I think this is the most concisely I've been able to articulate it in my life. But no, this is definitely something that's been around for a while. I've always just with a broad stroke, people are like, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Help people." And that was way too broad. So I'm trying to zone in on what do I mean by help people? What do I mean by have a positive impact on the world? What do I mean by wanting to be challenged every day? So I think it fits into my life. You know, I've started a company and a half. I've managed another few companies, and each of them has been with an effort to create positive change in people's lives, mostly like through physical fitness or physical challenge as the vehicle for that.
Yeah, and I shared a conversation I had with Steve last week where he interviewed me. It's on LinkedIn. It's like 45 minutes talking through sort of passion impact application, but through a lens of just health, like health and wellness overall, and how passion lends to vitality, which lends to resilience, which lends to, and it fits in, Steve, of what you're saying, right? Intentionality of connections, and the building of community that creates, which is, yes, survival, but it's also enables us to thrive and actually be at our best when we're in the right community of folks, right? That challenge us, encourage us, guide us, support us in the right way. Matt, I saw a little bit of humor in yours. You're welcome to tell us a joke, or if you like, just give us a little background on why you picked what energized you. Like, what are kind of your insights around that and how that reflects your perception?
Yes, thank you, Mark. Well, the true joke is I'm in the middle of a cafe in a conference at the moment, holding my phone in my hand with it plugged into the charger in the wall. So if someone gives me free juggling balls, I'll probably do a trick with those as well. I'll be brief because I'm really interested in listening to others. But yeah, I feel like energy is one of those universal things. And I didn't want to frame anything in the negative. I started with what sucks the life out of me, which is probably an energy-based question. So framing it in the positive, I just think the more energy I've got, the more capacity. And actually, I suppose I'm a big believer, of growing. If I can do my job, the home life stuff, extracurricular activities, and then probably push my purpose in the community, for example, for me, that's all about energy and maximizing that.
100%. It speaks to a huge part of our work. I always talk about energy being a multiplier. And if impact's the goal, right, there's positive impact and negative impact. And the multiplier is positive energy or negative energy, right? And there's different levels of energy and types of energy you can look at. But once you understand the purpose and you have some framework around it, leaning into the things that energize you, the things that engage you, the things you're enthusiastic about, naturally you're swimming with the tide and you're going to multiply your impact. So I use a simple formula for that, which is time multiplied by energy equals impact. And we're actually, that's a lovely tee up, Matt. It's almost like we scripted it, which we didn't. But it's a lovely tee up for the next exercise. So that one was deeper, like really digging into what we care about, what we believe in, what we're good at, what energizes us, what we enjoy, which we define as passion. The second part is taking a broader approach. So we want to go deeper, we want to go broader. So the broader approach is here. And that is looking at, and I'll try to expand this diagram a little bit because I haven't got it on presenter view. The diagram to the right-hand side. Can everyone see that okay?
Can you expand it?
Yeah, I'm going to try to. Actually, yeah, I can do this. There we go. There we go. That's what we need. And this is a model that Nell came up with. Who's one of my partners at Purpose Fused, and she has an amazing book called Going First. So everyone should get that. But these are spheres of impact. This is the broader whole self, whole life. So we've dug into the things we care about, that we believe in, that we're good at, that we enjoy, that energize us. And now we're just stepping back and looking at whole self, whole life versus here's the calendar, back to back, no breathing room, back to back meetings, no thinking space. Don't take that view. Step back and take this view to start with, and then you'll see your calendar differently. And what we're focused on today is the yellow pieces. And this is where we're going to do our time multiplied by energy equals impact. And for purposes of today, there's 6 spheres of impact. So these are 6 ways you can view your life: self and friends and family. As you can see below the line, foundational. This is, if you don't take care of yourself, don't put your own oxygen mask on first, you can't sustain supporting other people over the long term. And friends and family tend to be where we have our most meaningful relationships. And it's meaningful relationships and meaningful experiences that drive happiness. And purpose helps with the intentionality around that. So self, friends and families, where a lot of that meaning is, and we've got to take care of ourselves, take care of our friends and family. And then above the line, where we spend a lot of our time, our job, which is our role, right? Our day-to-day job. Our workplace, which would represent the company beyond our role, people we interact with, the culture, employee resource groups, maybe some things we might do in the community through our workplace. And then we have our actual community, where we live, our community in church, our community through sports, whatever those things might be for you. Community is different for people and it changes over time. And then we have money. So money is, first of all, having enough, but then once we have enough, or how do we choose to spend it? Where do we choose to spend it? Is it the local farmers market? How do we invest it? Do we invest it for good? Do we donate? What are the things that we can do with our money that are meaningful to us and have impact on others? So when you look at those 6 areas, the first quick exercise for everybody is to give yourself a very quick score out of 10 on just how you feel you're showing up in each of these 6 areas. How are you showing up for yourself? How are you showing up for your friends and family? How are you showing up in work, in the workplace, in the community, and around your money? And you don't need to put these in the chat. These are just for yourself. It's just an assessment based on your current reality of how you feel. And by showing up, I'm talking about just your inputs. What you say, what you do, how you behave, how you support people, types of conversations you're having. And then one thing I would like people to put in the chat is to share what is, and this will be tricky, but which is the one sphere of life out of these 6, which is the one, and there's usually 2 or 3 at any one time, but if you had to pick one right now is the absolute most important for this season of time, what is it? And this is where we're going to do our impact score. So the impact score, you're going to write down the area, and then you're going to give yourself a score. And the way you're going to come up with your score, which I'll pop into the chat, is this. Firstly, how intentional are you with your time in this particular area? Secondly, how much meaning and engagement are you experiencing in this area? And you give these a score of 1 to 10 each. I am 8 out of 10 on how intentional I am my time, and I'm an 8 out of 10 for how much meaning and engagement I'm experiencing. So my score will be 64. 64% would be my impact score for this particular sphere of my life right now. So some folks could share your sphere, share your score. There's no pass or fail, no right or wrong. This is purely your own self-assessment, because we can't really build upon anything but our truth. And obviously, you're very welcome to take this away. I'll drop the sphere diagram into the chat as well. You're very welcome to take this away and score yourself on all of these areas. And when we do this work with folks, we actually have like a 4-tabbed spreadsheet that really helps people look at how they're showing up in each of these areas. And what's really important is to catch the positives, right? So making somebody smile is an impact. Making somebody laugh is an impact. Helping somebody see something differently is an impact. And if we can all really start to assess the small impacts that we're having in each of the spheres of our life and feel good about the small impacts that we're having, because when you think about it, every big problem in the world, every big major challenge in the world has been caused by human behavior. And so little things matter, because if we all acted, said the right things every day, did a little bit better every day, were a little bit more intentional, a little bit more purposeful on the impact we wanted to have on a day-to-day basis, the world would be a different place. Matt, thanks so much for sharing. You took the exact scores. Well done. He didn't want to show off his math skills, you see, so he just took my numbers. And the other follow-up questions, which I'll let you peruse on, and again, you can just scribble these down for yourself. But and we're just going to focus again on that one sphere, but you can take these away as well, and obviously use them for yourself. When you think about that one sphere right now, what would people say in that sphere? What would people say you're doing well? Now, if you pick self, you're talking to yourself in the mirror. What are you doing really well right now to support yourself? Physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, how are you supporting yourself? If it's in your family, what would they say about you? What's going well? What would they say you're doing well? Secondly, what might they suggest you could do better? And lastly, what would you want to be more intentional about in this area going forward? So just have a go at answering those for that one sphere right now. And again, feel free then to have a go at these for your other spheres after. And again, this is all part of taking this broader view. And once we understand how we're currently showing up in the area, what people might say about us, what we feel good about, where we might want to lean into a little bit more, be a bit more intentional with our time and energy, find a bit more meaning. Once we have that and we narrow this down to the areas that matter most to us right now, we take the pressure off a little bit. We see the calendar a little bit differently now. Do I really need to be in that meeting? Do I really need to attend that just because that person asked me to? Or actually, could I have a one-to-one with this person and absolutely really support them with their goals? Could I spend some time looking around the corner and seeing what's ahead and creating some sort of new program that could be transformational? And they're 2 work examples, but you can pick examples in all of the areas of your life. The point is, for this season of time, what are the areas you want to focus on? And what elements of your best self are you infusing into those that have meaning and make a difference? So that's the broader approach. So we've done deeper, we've done broader. And what we're going to end with, and then have a little Q&A at the end, we're going to end with a little me, we, and world. So in this space, what we were looking at in spheres is our inputs, how we're showing up, what are the things we're doing that make a difference. What we're going to do now, and it's just focused on that one sphere because we haven't got hours to go through all of them. Focused on that one sphere, what we want to do now is articulate the impact that we could have as a result of that particular area in me, we, and world. Now, ultimately, the impact statements we showed earlier in that one-page purpose, which is our purposeful perspective, take into account all the spheres, and we summarize them in terms of 10 years out. So this is what we're going to have a go at. 10 years out, in that particular sphere you just talked about, how do you want to feel having been the best version of yourself from today going forward, and how would you feel that way? So if you picked family, and you wanted to be more intentional with time and energy in your family, and you got your score of 72, Janice, and you wanted to get your score to 89 or whatever, right? From today going forward, you've been the best version of yourself. How would you want to feel? So your me statement is, how do you want to feel in 10 years' time and why? So instead of a whole statement for now, just think of some words that would reflect how you want to feel. So everyone can just do this. This is a nice thing to throw into the chat. The me words. What are the me words you would want to feel in 10 years' time, having been the best version of yourself from today going forward in that particular sphere of your life? Throw those in here as well. And then your we, if you picked anything out other than self, your we at this point is just focused on those people, but you can extend it out if you like, because you ultimately will extend it out to everybody. But your we statement, if it's family, if it's work, if it's friends, for that particular area, what would they say the impact is that you've had on their life? 10 years' time, you've been the best version of yourself. You've been intentional with your time and energy, the words you've said and how you supported them and your actions and behaviors around those folks. What would they say has been the impact you've had on them? Now, I'll give you mine. My we, which is all we, right? All the people I choose to surround myself with, friends, family, colleagues, clients, partners, etc. I'd want people to say, I help them reframe their perspective. I help them identify and really lean into their own unique talents and practice those talents to build up their confidence and their belief so that they could go forward and be the ultimate version of themselves. There would be some things I'd want people to say. New perspective, leaning into talents, building their belief and confidence, and just basically never giving up on the things they believe in. And then your last piece would be, well, what's beyond that? If that's the impact I want to have on the people I'm most intentional with, that I'm surrounding myself with, what sits beyond that? The world statement will reflect anything that you care about that you're involved in that by definition sits beyond that group of people. Could be something in a community, could be a cause, a movement, faith-based thing, any sort of contribution that sits beyond those folks, and the ripple effect. Because having had that impact on those people, most humans want to pass it on, most humans want to do good, and we can't discount the ripple effect. If my we is 200 people and your we is 200 people and everyone's we is 200 people, just from me impacting my 200 people, I've indirectly then influenced 40,000 people. That's a pretty awesome little segment of the world that's had a hell of a lot of impact just from being intentional with my time and energy and what is meaningful to me and how I'm impacting other people. So that's our further part, deeper, broader, further. And having looked at all your spheres and answered all those questions and being intentional about things going forward, you can articulate your me, we, and world impact that provide you your own personal vision statements and direction for the impact you want to have in the world. So that's the last part of creating a purposeful perspective. So what I wanted to do for the last few minutes was just have a little bit of a conversation, a little bit of a chat. But I also appreciate you popping in some answers to these questions from this very short period of time together. And you can answer all of them or just a couple. And then I'd just like to take some questions from anyone of anything that I've shared that you want to get a little bit more insight into. So the four questions, looking at why purposeful perspective is important, understanding the approach and the process we go through, the explore, evaluate, and embed, and how purposeful perspective is the beginning of that journey. And then just toe dipping into a few little practical activities. What's something an insight you got out of today If there's anything you're seeing differently as a result of today, or the different priority, or looking at something differently, feel free to share that. And how valuable do you think having a purposeful perspective is to work and life? And also if there's anything else that you wanted to learn about. So you can throw things in the chat, but also wanted to just have a little bit of a conversation with folks in this last few minutes around any of these elements or anything that showed up in this small amount of time together that might be helpful. Let me get rid of the actually, I'll just throw this last slide up here with I'll put these in the chat as follow-up just so you've got them. But so yeah, fire away. Anyone anyone got a question or anything they wanted to get a bit more clarity on? Stop sharing that. Pull up. Oh, there we go. Sorry, it took me a while to stop sharing there for a second. Matt, yeah.
Just a brief one, Mark. It might actually be another session, but I'm a big pragmatist. So maybe your headline view on removing barriers. I think you've talked a lot about pain points and flipping that to think about possibilities, but maybe your tactical approach to removing barriers in the way of your purpose.
Yeah. So I think one of the valuable things about once you've got the purpose perspective in that one-page purpose, right, that plan, you can then see, and I call this roles, goals, and controls. you can kind of see how your role fits in, what goals you are tasked to achieve, and firstly looking at the alignment between those, right? Because there often challenges, pain points exist because there actually might be a lack of clarity or alignment between the roles that you're tasked with and the goals that you're tasked with achieving. And the control element is ultimately the alignment of your energy there. So what's in your control? You can have a conversation around that. Look, I'm most energized when I'm doing this. This is how I add the most value to the team. If I could spend 20% more of my time doing this and add this much more value, this is the impact that would have. In order to do that, I'd like to have a conversation about this 20% where I'm spending my time on this stuff. So boundaries come in around the things you can control, which can be the conversations, the actual physical things you can do around calendaring, around declining meetings, around setting expectations around when you're working, when you're not working. And those become so much easier to do when you can articulate them with the lens of the value in the contributions that you can provide versus from, to your point earlier, the negative side of things. Oh, I can't, it's sucking the life out of me. I'm getting burnt out. And all right, but actually the perspective is I want to contribute my best. And this is where I add the most value. So setting the controls, boundaries being one of the controls around that. So that would occur in our engagement in that kind of second part of the program, the explore, or the third, the second third of the program, where you're kind of taking this ideal view and then looking at your day-to-day reality and identifying the things you need to change. Often boundaries is one of them. So then in the embed phase, who are you having the conversations with? What type of conversations are there? Who's on your support team to help you? So the second 2/3 of the program is all putting those things into practice, but taking that purposeful perspective at the beginning really helps you do that effectively because it has so much more meaning. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. Thank you so much. That was really valuable.
Thanks, Matt. Any other? Yes, Janice, I will share the slides. Which I will need to save here. The last thing I wanted to tee up, which I will be doing on LinkedIn in the fall, I'm going to offer 6 periodized workshops that take people through the 6 phases of that, the 6 Ps, through that sort of through the explore, through the evaluate, and through the embed phases, which is a condensed down version of some of the reflection activities that we have that we'll give to people, and taking people through a very interactive kind of process where we'll have a limited group of folks participating and spending a lot of time kind of interacting, going through the activities that you've done on your own, and then unpacking them in each of those 6 sessions. They'll be in September and October. They will be free, but there will be a application process to participate in those, because the most important thing is I want folks that that are in leadership capacities in their business where this can actually have an impact on folks in their business from you taking these things on. And it does require commitment, because it's going to require you to commit 6 hours of time over the 6-week period. And there'll be some homework to do in between to get the most out of this. That will take you through that whole process. So I'll happily share the slides. My email is in there, and if anybody's interested in participating or expressing your interest in participating in that full series, ping me an email, and I will make sure that you get the registration link for that. And likewise, if there's anyone else you work with, another leader you know, somebody you think would really value this or really benefit from it, then obviously please feel free to make an introduction. I love doing this. I'd love to take folks through the full process. And I think once people experience it, they can really see the value in it. So again, it won't be no charge, but you will need to commit. So if you want to do it, ping me an email. It's time. So I want to let people go that need to go, but I will just attach the presentation here. I think I can. Can't see how to do that. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I've got your email, Janice. I've got most people. I think I've got everyone's emails actually that's on. So I'll ping an email. I'll ping an email with the deck out to everybody that's here. Other than that, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Hope it did give you a little bit of a new perspective, or refresh or revise your perspective from folks that have already been through the work. Billy, good to see you. I love that you and Steve are out there in the bright blue skies. And thanks for committing your time with me today. And I look forward to obviously staying in contact with everyone going forward.
Thank you, Mark. This was great.
Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you.
Cheers all. Bye bye.